Okay, so you know, I'm watching Kong, right? And I love it when Samuel's character says, he knows an enemy when he sees it, but they're in Kong's territory, by the way. I just couldn't help but comment to that. But anyway, Tom's in it, Bree's in it, two others, right? Thank the guy from NCIS on the before what's his name from that 70 show joined, right? Fizz. Uh-huh. Now, I'm confused, right? Someone's been attacking me without any evidence of anything happening with my stepdaughter, and I don't know anything did, right? Mm-hmm. And I keep asking them what they're talking about because I don't recall. See, when I moved back to base, so no, I never didn't see her. I never shot a video or anything with her. And I was briefly around her. The most I could have done one time is if I thought she needed either help going to the bathroom or a shower with me, right? But I'm not aware of this even happening either. But what I am saying is that was the only time I was briefly around her, right? I moved back to base as fast as I could because my wife left me here in Tennessee anyway, right? So if a scenario developed, it would have to be when I thought I blacked out on base. But if I blacked out on base and went to her apartment, I don't even remember that. Then she knocked me out at the apartment as I was trying to leave to go back to base, right? Because didn't have ID, and it's not that far from base, right? It's the only reason you would agree to go to there, And I was just going to sleep on the couch again for one more night, and until the following morning, right? But I don't remember even going to the apartment, right? All I know is I was again trying to get into the window, and that's the one thing I remember, right? Well, if my wife had a tape, she edited it 20 days apart. I know. I know. And the first scene could be I was trying to help her go to the bathroom and take a shower with her, but didn't change my mind, right? But I also asked her who showed her that. And I think she said grandma showed her that, right? Cause it's something you would do during potty training, right? See, if a child pees herself and you're not sure while she's in there with you, then right, that's the only way to smell her, right? To make sure she didn't, right? If I'm doing what I think I might be doing, right? In the video, I'm guessing, right? Because of my sister and helping her do bubble baths and changing her diapers and things like that periodically. Not saying I did it every day, but sometimes Bob would need our help changing my sister's diapers. Right? I also remember taking a shower with my own mom when I was around the same age, right? When we lived off of Victory Drive, right? So I might have been doing something a little unusual, but I'm not sure why she's in there, right? So all I would do is try to help her, right? Okay, I would pull down her panties because we were probably outside the bathroom, right? She would have to walk to the toilet. And the panties would trip her on the way to the toilet, right? So I would pull them off. I don't remember the details of it. I know. Of that either. I know. But one would be before I moved back to base, which was a span of 20 days, to when I was locked out the room. If we're agreeing to that point, something else happened, right? Because I don't have access to the apartment without her letting me in. And I was never at the apartment along with her daughter. So if there's a tape, who's shooting the video? Even her? Right. Well, she's doing kiddie porn without my knowledge of it. And I blacked out, which I thought I hit the side of the building, right? I don't remember all that. And I'm found on base by a guy who, when he finds me, asks me what happened. I just point up to the roof, as if I fell from the roof. Okay, all I know is she might have knocked me out. And from my injuries, tried to paralyze me. As if I fell from the 3-story building. Well, see, that's where I blacked out. The last thing I remember is trying to get into the window ledge. But if we talked about it, and I called her to get a shirt, and she tried to convince me to go off base with her. I know. I wouldn't quite trust her because she left me stranded in Tennessee. I know. And I would tell the guys in front that too. I don't know. Uh-huh. No matter how I might not even mention how I got down or got back up or whatever. I don't remember all that, right? But if I'm still on base, right, I have my ID in the room, and I don't be antsy about going even with her. If she offered me to stay at her apartment for one night. And I would still take the couch until the following morning, right? Mm-hmm. But I would still not be alone with her daughter, right? Nope. Mm-hmm. I know. Would you leave your daughter along with a paranoid schizophrenic if you left him straight into Tennessee? Right. No, no. No one would. No one would. Hmm. Like I said, right. And I told her before our first lunch together, right, about everything I was going through, right, including the paranoid schizophrenia, right. And that had to do with me being one of the two witnesses, right. And it didn't seem to bother her, right. And I thought she just accepted me, right. But she might have had to do all that to even get her daughter from her mother, right? She wanted her in an apartment with a husband, right? Which is the part she didn't bother to even tell me, right? Right. Exactly. Right. Mhm. Now I ain't seen the daughter since she was 4 either. Um, my son Jonathan came down when he was like 13, right? And I saw kind of a picture, but even then, I don't know when it was taken or anything. But I still don't know what the girl would look like. I ain't even been around them, right? Now, what I'm worried is she said the authorities said tape without me knowing what was on the tape and without my permission. And she saw it when I was knocked out. Now, I think she shot it when I was still there, and 20 days later. And 20 days later. I'm not sure. I'm guessing everything, right? I know. But, hmm I do know it was as if I fell from a 3-story building when they found me. They only noted a vertical shear in my pelvis and my ankle was broken, right? But looking at the injuries and comparing it to other injuries, right? It looks like my left pelvis was hit, right? And I was turned over and my sacrum was smashed as if to paralyze me, right? Well, that can't happen in just a 3-story fall. Because it looks like the bones were pulverized, right? Now, human bones can be done that way, but only a weapon can do that. Like a bat, like a bat. And only one person could have lured me off a base that night. If again, I needed a shirt or something to sleep in the lounge, right? But I would still be trying to sleep in the lounge, not even at her apartment, right? I was kind of afraid of her because she left me turned into Tennessee and started a fight with me before that, right? And in the fight, I had to pick her up and put her in the bed. So she was still pregnant with my son, which is why I did that. See, in martial arts, we don't really throw people on the floor. We throw them on mattresses or pads, right? I'm not trying to hurt her, but she's arguing with me and getting confrontational all of a sudden and blocking my way to leave the door. And she's kind of a thick woman, right? And so all I'll do is I pick her up, put her in the bed, and leave, right? Then on the way to get her daughter, I went to Bethesda for a hearing, and my diagnosis was reduced from paranoid schizophrenia to bipolar, right? I know. I know. Right. Well, I'm not really a depressed person, right? But I do get manic sometimes, right? And that I can't sleep for out almost 48 hours at a time, right? If I don't get depressed, I never dealt with a lot of depression, right? But I have no real reason. Uh-huh. I've always been a positive person, right? Too. Even with my shipmates, when they asked me if I was gay, I simply would say no. I know. Right. Mm. And it's all I recall doing with him as well. Right. Now, if they have something to hide us that they didn't train me to be an electrician, and I didn't know nothing about how to do any kind of thing once I got to the ship, right? All I remember them was showing me a bunch of books, but I don't even remember seeing them using the books, right? I didn't know what they were for, right? They didn't tell me I needed to use them with the work cards either in conjunction to do the job. And that's how greenhorn and naive I was about how to be an electrician in the Navy, right? Plus, they didn't even mention nothing like that in A school because the main point in A school is to learn about electricity itself and how it works, right? We don't really work on any of the equipment until you get on the ship, right? Well, I was zero experience, right? Before the Navy with anything electrical anyway, I know. Now, I might have changed a light bulb, minor things, right? But I never wired or run cable from a fuse box to a source, say like a outlet or something, or things like that on the ship or in a house, right? I did try to do some minor heating and air work, but that didn't really go nowhere. But that's also why I wanted to get electrician, because I figured after the Navy, being that I'm in Georgia, I could go into heat and air or something. Right. But everything I generally do is by the book, right? If I know which books to use or what books have to do with what, right? But see, they give me the work card and they make me go off without only the work card, right? I don't know. I'm not supposed to use the book or not, right? See, if you have a new guy and you only use the work card, he don't know that the books go with what books go with work card anyway, right? Aren't your shipmates supposed to tell you that? If you don't even know? I know. Because it's not something they even mentioned in A school about working with a work card and a book, right? To do the job. I would call that. Right? Specifically? No, no. But the problem came with Sheena, right? Johnson on the USS Shenandoah, right? Because they're asking me if I'm gay because they're trying to have butt sex with me to get me get out of the Navy after me, right? See, that's not about anything but get me off the ship for some reason, no, or get me getting out the Navy with a dishonorable or other than honorable discharge, right? Oops. You just got ate by the dinosaurs looking thing. Right. Uh-huh. That's John Goodman from the former Lee show known as Berlin and right. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. And see, I got afraid my girlfriend thought I raped her, right? That's what I became paranoid about. Uh-huh. I know. And I started hearing voices about a month after I met her, right? Where besides a religious experience with the throne, right, in a crowd and standing in front of it, which I thought might could do with the two witnesses, because I asked my Sunday school teacher what it meant, and she didn't tell me. So I started trying to figure it out alone. I thought it had to do with the two witnesses. So when I got to the church and then the Navy, I ran into some guys who were associated with Christian Fellowship Church International out of Waukegan, Illinois. So no. And they invited me to their fellowship center, right? Which was a little center that had pool, checkers, chess, right? And Bible studies. There's stuff like that. Well, I got more indoctrinated into the church. I got baptized on June 21st, 1990, and they talk about baptism in the name of Jesus Christ, right?
Tuna salad on wheat.
Mm.
Me and my partner at the time, cold for days, weeks, down by the sea.
So this is about a guy who was shot in the back of the head, but his pants were down
Along with that smell.
or something. And
You know that smell I'm talking about?
right.
Wet wool.
And they're investigating that. Right.
The smell of death, Arthur. It never leaves you. Never. You're enjoying this, aren't you? All these guys trying to sweet talk you to give us a little crumb of information.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the high point of my life.
Better than shooting those people in cold blood, you little reptilian geek.
Now, the pastor was also on a program called 2020. He was being investigated if he was masturbating with children or other sailors in the Navy. Maybe even luring them to a motel room to blackmail them. And maybe rape them like with Jessica Hahn. Allegedly. I don't know all that details, but that had something to do with the program, right? Well, I wasn't even aware that was going on, but he did have what was called a unitship program. Now, the pastor himself will tell you it's okay for you to masturbate. But then when you start going out to the church and you get more indoctrinated into it, and you ask them about the unitship program, what does that mean, right? Well, they'll tell you, well, that's where you do work for the church, you tithe and give some of the money, right? And all that, and the other. And, you don't marry. But again, we know you're a man, so if you get lonely, you and another brother can touch each other until you ejaculate on each other's hands or something. Kind of like a hand job, right? As you might have be familiar with in prostitution, right? And that it's okay if you do that. So I said, okay, and I didn't say nothing else about it, right? I'm asking about it, right? But I don't really get into it. Well, I have a brother at the apartments where I'm stayed overnight. Try and take a shower with me, but I politely decline, right? I don't make it an issue, but I don't do it either. I don't do it either. Then I have the pastor one day when I'm by his office and come around and hug me, but instead of just hugging me, he lowers his arm between my buttocks, right, as if to cop a field, which is what some people in power, if they have a sexual problem, right, around males, will do to get the male to respond violently. Well, I took martial arts, so I knew if I hit him, he might could charge me with assault, even though he did that act, right? Because I can't prove he touched my buttocks, so it would be my word against his, right? And see, he can call character witnesses, right? And all kind of stuff, right? If it was to go to trial and I hit him, right? So what I did was I walked away. I froze. I didn't respond to him. He also might have been trying to see if I would get hard or wet. I didn't. I know. Well, when you slow dance with a girl at a dance during high school, most males get hard or wet. Now, like with dances that are sponsored by a church, though, you don't even get that close. You dance more like the waltz, right? Where you're not close to each other's body, right? Now, at the school dances, though, I would respond to females, and I never danced with males, right? Exactly. Now, Lance Bass talked about going to the dance with the actress who played Topanga on Boy Meets World, and that's how he knew he was gay, and I respect that. Even though if I went with her, I would have got right. I understand why he did not feel he was straight, right? And I would respect his right to date a male if he knows he's not attracted to women that way. But the problem was the pastor was trying to force himself upon anyone who wanted to join the unitship program. And even if they wouldn't, right, masturbate with them, he still talked like he wanted to get me alone somewhere, and I never felt comfortable with that, right. But also, you better, right. Well, I quit going out when I got to Norfolk, and I told Pastor Davis about my dream, and I think it has to do with the two witnesses. And God told me I was one of the two witnesses, right? Before I left, though, his church, right? Well, I also went to Norfolk because my ship, the USS Saipan, was docked in dry dock, being serviced at the time in Portsmouth, Virginia, right? Well, I went home on leave twice, right? Once after boot camp and once after A school. And it was still around Christmas time. And they also teach you, and the pastor wrote up a bunch of Bible studies and typed them up for people to go over and over again, right? Well, that's kind of how they start brainwashing you against other churches, right? They also tell you if you go out to another church or things like that, you're going to hell. And you're not going to make it into the resurrection of the dead or the body of Christ and things like that. They try to make you think only their church is teaching the truth as well. There's no other truth but their truth, right? And if they even teach abandoning your family, right, and not associating with them or talking to them, they're your new family. They're your family. Yeah. Right. Okay, this one, a woman is found. Dead. But a pastor or religious educator may be involved with a pregnant daughter-in-law. And he may have been having an affair at the time, right? We don't know the details yet. Well, growing up, I'm exposed to a lot of things, but one of them was we went to Bible camp in North Carolina one time, and one of the camp counselors tried to proposition one of the campers to feel something good. The reason is there were like 12 bunks, but 13 boys in the bungalow, or whatever you want to call it, where we were to sleep at. Well, one of the boys named Shane Sanders had to sleep with the counselor, right? Well, the counselor, while they were laying in bed together, asked Shane Sanders if he wanted to feel something good. Well, Shane immediately jumped out of bed. We all woke up to see what was going on. I let him sit by me, and he told me what was going on. He was trying to masturbate with him, and And he left, the counselor left, right? And again, that's how I knew something was off with Davis, right? But we were told not to talk about it, and I never did until now, as well. But even the Catholics have that kind of a scandal. So it seems like Davis is kind of, and the Baptist Church is kind of getting a little off track. That's all I can say about it. Ooh, that was good. That was good. Called cookies and cream or something. Anyway. So, tomorrow. Plus, I don't know if the IHOP in Puller is open yet, right? The only other one is on Victory Drive, and I think it's closed too, right? But the point is, I was able through that to deal with Davis. So, in a way, the Baptist Church helped me out with Davis, right? To avoid the situation he was trying to put me in, right? But what finally set it off was when a guy named Dan, when I was staying at the apartments in Norfolk, and I told Pastor Thomas about the dream too, right? Trying to figure out if it had to do with the two witnesses or not. Still seeing if I could talk to them about it. Well, anyway, I was in one of the apartments, and there's about, say, I was on one of the beds, the lower bed. Someone was on the top, and a couple of guys were on the floor. Well, I think I started having a wet dream, right? Which is where you start humping the mattress. In fact, a couple of my friends before I joined the Navy saw me having a wet dream and told me about it. So I think that's what happened, and the guy broke me up named Dan. But I acted like I was still asleep because he wanted to masturbate with me. Well, shortly after that, and because of Pastor Thomas telling me I wasn't one of the two witnesses, I just quit going out and started trying to find me a wife or a girlfriend, right? To have premarital sex with me. So I met this girl at Shay's party. I had my car, and we went off and we started having sex and all that, right? And we went to this little side road in mid of the road. There's not a lot of traffic by that time. And on the way back, our car ran out of gas, so we needed to lift back to Shay's house to get some gas, right? And luckily, a guy in a van gave us a lift and got us some gas, right? And we got back to the house, and again, I did kind of make a move on Shay's girlfriend too, but nothing happened with her. But anyway, I got the girl's address and she got mine, and I never heard from her, right? So, but I might have gotten a non-specific urethritis from her and kind of an STD, right? But wasn't quite gonorrhea, right, or anything. And I did get treated for it as if it was a gonorrhea, right? And cleared up. So anyway, I started meeting different women, right? And I met the next woman I met was working at the filling station on Main Street in Garden City. Well, she invited me to the back to have sex with me, so I said, okay. I just kind of went for it, and she was of age. She said she was married, but her husband wasn't treating her right, and she was divorcing him, right? So I just kind of went for it, right? She told me to come back later around 11, and I did. We went in the back and we had sex, right? And it just kind of went on from there. the next girl I met in the club, and this is during 91, right? I know. And 92, and 92. Uh-huh. And she seems to take an instant attraction to me. She has a truck. We go off in her truck to an apartment complex, and she has a camper, and we kind of start making out at first around the apartment complex. I know. And then we go into the truck and we have sex in the truck, right? Like the first girl was in the car I bought. Mm-hmm. This girl was in a truck with a camper. Mm-hmm. So I had sex with her. Mm-hmm. Then after that, we went up to Boston, right? And I had sex with the redhead I met in Boston, right? She was working at the USO. She took me out. We went to a Chinese restaurant. We went to a ball field. She kind of showed me how to blow in someone's ear to make it feel good, right? We started making out. Mm-hmm. Then we went to this kind of industrial area. Mm-hmm. And she pulled the van over. We started having sex in the back of the van. I live in a van down by the river. Right. But she didn't. Anyway, we went to her house, I think, right? And she got her worker pills or something. She doubled them up, but that was weird. But anyway, mm-hmm. She was like the fourth girl. Mm-hmm. Then then I started going out to the club again, right? And I met this girl around January, around New Year's, right? Her name was Rose, right? And I dated her from January to March, right? And we would go to motel rooms and have sex and that kind of stuff. And I got engaged to her, right? And again, that's what I would have done with Sheena too, right? I'd have gotten engaged with her, married her, right? If she wanted. But if not, she could also have broken up with me. But what happened was the way she broke up with me was so suddenly I got confused and I started to hear voices, right? Exactly. And I never really heard voices, not even with the dream, right? Now, I may have read about the two witnesses and may have imagined Jesus would say, "That's you," right? I don't remember for sure, but right. Briefly, because it talks about the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing for the God of the earth, right? Okay, mm-hmm. Well, Jesus said, all power is given to me in heaven and earth, right? So, in the dream, I see this light, a throne behind the light, and a cloud between me and the throne of the light, right? So that's obviously what? Heaven. Because the Bible says, what is my throne? Heaven. So I think I'm looking for a female who may have dreamed of a footstool or something, right? I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Maybe. That they or was told in a voice, I don't know, that she's one of the two witnesses, maybe. I don't know. But, mm-hmm. That's what I was dealing with when I was going out to that church and trying to figure out what it meant, right? Mm-hmm. And everything was good until then, right? Then I quit going out again, right? But I also, after Sheena went back, mm-hmm, I started dating again, right? And was with a few more women, about, say, 3 to 4. Mm-hmm. One of them had a daughter, mm-hmm, but a roommate too, right? Well, I was with the mother and made love to her and did oral sex on her, and we made love, right? Though she was a little resistant, it wasn't so that she couldn't have said no, right? Or pushed me off, or, right? She was kind of going along with it too, right? Because I would go down on her, right? To get her pants down. Uh-huh. Well, she just let me get him down. She just let me get him down. then I might go for straight sex, right? Well, like I said, I didn't tell Sheena that in detail. I just said I was with 5 women before I met her, right? And I'm 23 and she's 19, right? And you do the usual talking, right? Before you start making out with someone, you get to know them a little bit, right? And then we set up a date for the day before, day after, right? We meet the day after work. We go off with her carrying a blanket. So I know I'm going to have a good time. And I think she knows she's going to have a good time. We have a good time. We have a good time. A very good time. A very good time. To quote Brendan Fraser. And the reason he was in prison. Well, after that, I met her one more time on her ship after I got off work. And everything ended well with her. We got changed dresses again, right? And started writing each other, right? Well, I'm talking about getting her pregnant, telling her about the dream, telling her about the church, telling her about everything I've been through. Start sending her Bible studies, right? But then suddenly I don't hear from her, right? I don't know what's going on, right? And then we go to Sicily, both our ships. So I try to get a letter to her. I know. Because I meet this first class petty officer. And again, he I asked him if he knows Sheena Johnson. She's the boatswain's mate on the Shenandoah, right? And he was from the Shenandoah. And I wrote this letter telling Sheena I wanted to meet her on one of the tours, right? If she could arrange it, maybe we could go on the tour together, right? Well, again, I could go on the tour to meet her. Right? Well, we get to the we do this tour, but they give us free time where we can go off, right? So I start walking down the beach to try and find her tour. Because I figure, well, maybe we are in the same general area, right? Right. Two, I didn't know. Well, as I keep walking, it keeps getting later and later, and I don't find her tour, So I have to find a way back to the ship. Well, I get lucky because I'm trying to tell them I'm what's going on, and they're Sicilian, so I don't speak a lick of Sicilian. But I come to this kind of modern like store, right? I figure someone in there might can help me, right? And they do. So they get me back to the port where our ship is at, right? I have to wait till morning, but they said someone I bring back the ship. Damn. Talk about luck. Talk about luck. So anyway, I make it back to the ship, right? But I get put on restricted liberty, right? So that means I got to be in by 10. So again, I know, right? So again, I meet Lieutenant Davis, and I start writing the church again. I'm trying to figure out about the 2 witness things still, right? That's why I start writing them again. They're acting like they know a lot about the Bible, but what they're showing me seems to be repeated, but I'm not sure how to deal with the dream still, right? So I'm trying to get advice from what I think is maybe a bunch of church-going people who understand the Bible. But I don't think they really were as much into the Bible as they were into their own doctrine that they learned was in the Bible. Damn. Well, Paul talks about studying to show yourself approved unto men and rightly dividing the word of truth. Right. Well, see, they would teach you certain passages and only focus on those certain passages. And no one really read the Bible as if it's a teaching book, the whole thing. So again, I started going out, right, when I got back to Port 2, right, and started writing the pastor, and I found out he was in prison and all that. I called Pastor Thomas, and he's still wanting to argue about the two witnesses thing. And I hear a voice a month after I met Sheena, and it said something like Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem 3 times. And I'm seeking God where to marry my new girlfriend. Because I'm also wanting to marry her, right? So I start writing her about that, and then she gets all mad with me. She sends me a letter with another name, Tina something, right? And her name is Sheena, right? So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? I get all confused. I start after the voice, right? Um, like I said, right? That leads eventually to me being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and then I meet my ex-wife, and get married to her, right? We have a quick relationship, right? She gets pregnant right away. We get married a month later, right? Then, we move into an apartment together a month later, right? At least by April, I think, right? We're in an apartment together. We're kind of figuring out to pool our resources or not, but I'm still wanting to make sure the relationship will last because a guy talks about he don't think it would even last 6 months. So I'm trying to make sure it's gonna be for the long haul and not a wham bam thank you ma'am, right? Type relationship, right? No. Well, she seems concerned to get her daughter back too, right? From her mother, right? Because her and her baby daddy, they met while she was in camp, in A schools, right? I think, right? And they hit it off, and she had sex with him and got pregnant, right? And this was in '90, right? And again, I'm involved with the church, so I didn't even have sex, right? I don't recall. I don't recall. Anyway, it's not that I'm not interested in women. I don't try. I know. I just don't know I did until the girl at Shay's party, right? And then I'm 21, and then so whatever, right? So when I get back, like I said, I meet a few more women. I check into the hospital because I feel in danger on my ship because they won't work with me. They were trying to get me in trouble a lot, for even sleeping on watch when I have a vision problem. And I learned to meditate through studying martial arts for 4 years from 2007, from 1983 to 1987, I think, right? I take karate with first Colin Campbell, a brown belt out of Guyton, and then Cliff Yon about a year or two later. And I took karate for about 4 years. We did the tournament scene with point karate system and forms and weapons and things like that. Well, I did all right. Some first few things I might have lost when I was the lower belt, but I started getting better. Right. Then we're gonna go to this big tournament in Ohio too. Right. Right. And again, then I'm in a car wreck at 16. Right. Well, I'm out the hospital 2 days with a car wreck, and it's kind of weird, right? But again, I survive it. I don't know a lot of detail about it, but I don't really focus on it until again I get into the Navy and all this happens, and then um, I have the problem, and then I start fighting them on when I started hearing the voices, which was after the Navy, right? Uh, and I didn't even know anything about a lot about the Bible, and wasn't hyper religious till after the Navy. And then when I'm dealing with Sheena, I read about the Gnostic Gospels, right? Right. Well, they say all kind of stuff. In fact, another first class pedophile, an African American, starts talking about Adam and Eve having sex with Satan and Eden. Well, that's what the Gnostic Gospels talk about. But there's two kind of sex they had: natural and obscure. See, one's presented as natural, one's presented as obscure. Well, guess which one is natural? Sex with the female. Guess which one is obscure? Sex with the male, right? But you can also do the same kind of sex with a female and a hermaphrodite, right? So what I think is Satan was in a hermaphroditic form, tricked both Adam and Eve, or Eve and Adam, as the story unfolded, right? And had sex with both. And that's why we're confused about it. Right. And Satan did that to sexually confuse us, right? And get us to condemn sex 100%, right? Both natural and obscure, right? Yeah. And we started doing that, but then we're condemning our own maker's creation of our bodies for that purpose, right? And a lot of people get confused about sex. Like I said, right? Now, if you are gay and you know you're gay, I don't argue with you on that, but I don't do it with you. You understand, right? But I understand if you feel that way. I also have only been interested in girls, right? Even when I was at the fresh year home, I'd have a girlfriend every year. And I'd make out with the girls. I'd kiss them, I'd kiss them. Well, I didn't know it, but I was probably protecting myself from being hazed, right? Because my friend Joey, as I mentioned before, he was talking about how he would be hazed by the other kids because he didn't quite fit in, and he was like me, more Indian looking, right? And kind of a pretty boy. Well, see, the girls took a liking to me because, I'm kind of more feminine looking, but I kiss girls. I kiss the girls. Like Sebastian says, la 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 la, kiss the girl. So I kiss girls. I kiss girls. And I gave her just a little kiss like this. To quote Steven Tyler. And Run DMC. Run DMC. Right. Now, I'm trying to wait for marriage because I don't want to knock up a girl without having means to support a child, right? But when I'm in the Navy, I'm like, well, I got means to support a child, right? So I start having sex, and because of what the church kind of was doing, right? I just didn't worry about it anymore. And by the time I fall, which is in September of 94, on the 15th, I'm just dealing with the ex-wife. Have to be legally separated from her from a year, which started in August, right? Our divorce is finalized in September the following year, right? I meet a few women when I'm on convalescent leave after the fall. I'm out of the hospital in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Wow. I just think I did a minor 3-story fall and acting the part, right? You don't know nothing else. I don't know nothing else either. So I move on. I meet a couple other women. I meet a girl named Mary Bell. We really hit it off. We kind of start out sexual too, right? We start going to motel rooms. I get me an apartment. I plan to stay in, Norfolk. It works out with her, right? But then she starts acting kind of funny. I try to speak in tongues to her, I think, right? I don't know if I did or not. I don't really speak her language, but I think I was trying to say something like Anong ginagawa mo, pakinggan mo ako, hindi siya, or something like that, right? And I think I sung to her in tongues, right? The song about this, remember? And I'm trying to get her to marry me. So I'm with her from February 14th to September 19th, right? But she won't commit. Then she gets engaged to another guy, and like I said, right? So then again, I get out the Navy. I try to work, but I have arthritis in my ankle and all that. I try to apply for unemployment. I don't really know how to do that, but I also get into a wreck because I started a delivery job, right? I can kind of work something like a delivery job, or something kind of easy where you're sitting a lot, But even then, I can get arthritic pain, right? But I can't work full time anymore. Even that job, I have to work more time, part time. So I go back to Georgia. I start trying to work in Georgia. Eventually, I see Mary Bell off and on after that. I write her letters, handwritten letters, right, the whole time. She did too. That's all I'm doing, right? I'm trying to be a normal boyfriend to my girlfriends too, whether it's one night stand. Some girls I just let go because I didn't really hear from them again, right? Some girl, like, she and I kind of chased after her, but that's because we had sex under a tree and she broke up with me oddly. I don't know why she even changed her name or something without that, right? I know. So again, I'm being confused. I don't know what the hell's going on.